time and sharing your perspective with us on NewsX World. With that, viewers, we're shifting our focus to Russia. There's been a crucial meeting that has taken place in Moscow between Russian President Vladimir Putin as well as Syria's al-Sharaa. Now, Putin has expressed Moscow's readiness to strengthen its ties with Syria. Speaking with President al-Sharaa, Putin congratulated Syria on holding parliamentary elections earlier this month. This marks al-Sharaa's first visit to Russia since taking power. Listen in.
Полезных начинаний было обозначено, и мы со своей стороны готовы делать все для того, чтобы их осуществлять. Так же, как и договоренности осуществлять регулярные контакты и консультации по линии Министерства иностранных дел. Мы очень рады вас видеть.
هناك أيضا روابط تاريخية قديمة كما ذكرنا، وأيضا هناك علاقات ثنائية ومصالح مشتركة تربطنا أشياء كثيرة. جزء من الغذاء السوري معتمد على الإنتاج الروسي، وأيضا كثير من محطات الطاقة أيضا معتمدة على الخبرات الروسية، وكثير من العلاقات الاستراتيجية والسياسية سواء دولية أو إقليمية مرتبطة ارتباط وثيق مع روسيا. نحن نحترم كل ما مضى من اتفاقيات ومن هذا التاريخ العظيم، ونحاول أن نعيد ونعرف بشكل جديد.
Now, energy cooperation has dominated the discussions between Russian and Syrian officials in Moscow. Russian Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak has revealed that the two nations are exploring joint oil projects to help Syria rebuild its economy after years of conflict. Listen in.
Сегодня обсуждали конкретные проекты и в области энергетики, и транспорта, и развития туристической сферы, и развития здравоохранения, культурно-гуманитарной сфере. Вот это все будет подробно обсуждаться, и мы готовы оказывать поддержку и участвовать. Это одно из направлений. Российские компании работали давно уже на территории Сирии, на нефтяных месторождениях. Есть месторождения, которые требуют разработки, есть те, которые законсервированы, новые.
With us on the broadcast is Mr. Gilbert Doctora, Russian affairs expert, joining us from Brussels. Thank you so much for taking our time and speaking to us on NewsX World. At the outset, I wanted to understand from you how crucial is this particular visit, this meeting between Putin and al-Sharaa for both Russia and Syria?
Well, this particular visit was the headline news in last night's Russian state television news broadcasts. They showed what you have just shown and a little more. It looks like a cordial meeting. I believe this was the first visit of the new Syrian leader outside of his country after his visit to the United Nations General Assembly. So significant it was. What you have not mentioned, but was part of Mr. Putin's salutation, was the fact that this marks 2025 marks the 80th anniversary of Russian-Syrian diplomatic relations, which were established just after the end of World War II, at a time when Russia was in a rather weak position after all of the losses of the war. So this is really a long-term investment in diplomacy and close relations and economic support that, as they showed on Russian television, all Syrians are aware that so much of their hydroelectric power is coming from plants, dams, and energy generation that was made possible by Soviet collaborators, Soviet partners. So the point is that the Russian-Syrian relations go back far, and that they have had material impact on the Syrian economy, which was shown last night on Russian television. However, after saying that Mr. Novak, who was for maybe 10 years Russia's energy minister, had close talks with his Syrian partners, because the leader of Syria came with a delegation, substantial delegation, to talk about commercial opportunities and cooperation. That is fine, but it is being silent about the most important issue between Syria and Russia, from the Russians' perspective, is they're maintaining their bases in Syria. They have an air base at Latakia. They have a very important naval base Tartus. And these are the interests which were not discussed yesterday on Russian state television, nor by yourselves. We don't know what was discussed there, but we may assume that the issues were broached. And the most important thing of all of this puts a lie to all of the people who are cackling in London and Berlin and in Paris and in Washington after the overthrow of Assad and his flight to Moscow as a refugee, saying that Russia was finished in the Middle East and in Syria in particular. It has been proven to be false.
Indeed. And you've, of course, mentioned the elephant in the room, Assad itself. It's being said that he's been provided sanctuary in Russia. Now, al-Sharaa, before flying to Moscow, has stated that Assad will be held accountable without Syria entering into any conflict with Russia. I wanted to understand from you, what could this entail?
Well, Russia has, without wishing to be so, has become a sanctuary for several deposed leaders. The former Prime Minister of Mr. Yanukovych is sitting comfortably in exile in Russia, and Mr. Assad and family have followed. This was not a position that Moscow sought, but it, acting in humanitarian concern, has provided these deposed leaders with a place to live and normally. I don't think that the Syrians are going to press this issue very, very hard, because the Russians will not relent. They certainly will not turn over Assad to be murdered by those who deposed him. So that is an issue that he has to raise formally, but certainly will not present for a further discussion with the Russians. I think the issue really, when speaking about what Mr. Novak had to discuss with the Syrian guests, which was in Russian cooperation in exploration and production of oil and hydrocarbons, we have to remember the single biggest issue facing Syria is not to find new oil fields, but to regain from U.S. control its very important oil fields in the east of the country, which the United States has occupied and exploited for its own benefit for several years now.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, and you mentioned something about the remnants of Russia's influence, the air bases, the navy base in Tartus as well. How do you think Syria would manage to balance its outreach to the West, to Europe, to the United States, along with Russia?
I don't think it has a choice. Syria does not have a choice. It must balance interests because the West is not being very kind to Syria. There are still very important sanctions. They haven't all been lifted. More importantly, the West has done nothing about Israeli incursions and occupation, not only of the Golan Heights, but moved down into territory just close to the capital, Damascus. The West has done nothing about that. Russia, having defense arrangements with Russia is important to Syria to maintain a balance and to pressure the West to pressure Israel.
All right, so with that, I would like to thank you for taking out your time, providing your insights into what exactly is happening as far as Syria is concerned. With that, viewers, we shift our focus to more news coming in from Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman has launched a development next to Mecca's Grand Mosque that will add around 900,000 indoor and outdoor praying spaces. The 12 million square meter, 4.6 square mile mixed-use project called King Salman Gate will improve access to the Grand Mosque. The development seeks to enhance services for visitors and pilgrims while searching their spiritual and cultural journeys, aligning with the objectives of the Pilgrimage Experience Program under Saudi's Vision 2030. Well, viewers, due to paucity of time, it's a wrap on the Gulf today on NewsX World. With that, we slip